Are you interested in learning karate, or more specifically, Okinawan karate? Can I do this? Ah! I didn't hurt myself. We're here at White Tiger Dojo in Berkeley Heights. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to introduce you to Sensei Darren DeMarco. Tell us, how is it that you learned about and got into martial arts?
So when I was 4 years old, back in the late 70s, early 80s, all those ninja, American Ninja type of movies were coming out, I was literally climbing up facades of chimneys and like trying to just do whatever I could to act like a ninja. And no one taught martial arts to 4-year-olds. So my parents enrolled me into gymnastics. And I started gymnastics until age 12. And I was a pretty crazy kid in the sense that I was pretty risk-oriented, shall we say, rather than risk-averse. So I was totally into gymnastics. And then one day, there was the wrong coach was there. We normally worked with like a high school elementary coach. And the college coach was there instead. And he put us on the rings and had us do something that none of us could do. And one of the kids broke his arm landing. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Hey, Mom, anyone teach martial arts to 12-year-olds? And she's like, yes, there is. And I started in 1986 with Taekwondo. And I don't teach Taekwondo now, but I started with Taekwondo. It's the most prolific art all over the place. And that was the final, completion of ninja gymnastic training, and now I could finally start kicking and punching. And here I am, 2019, still kicking and punching.
So tell us about the style that you're teaching, and when a student is looking for a school, how important is it for them to understand the style, the country of origin, and even lineage, like who you learned from?
So I would say yes and no. So from importance, when I have a student, for example, leaving my school because they're moving to another place and they want to find somebody like me, I usually tell them, forget about the style, find out what the content of the character of the teacher that's on board. Because as much as we could get into an argument of which style is better, at the end of the day, I'd much rather see someone have a successful relationship with a positive teacher that's going to give them good life lessons about conflict than it is about necessarily the actual style. For me, one of the reasons why I chose my style, which is also one of the issues with a martial journey, is oftentimes when you step into a place, you're locked into a contract for so long that you're like, well, I can never find out what anything else is like because I'm here for 2-3 years, or whatever the contract is for a lot of places. I moved away from Taekwondo, specifically, nothing against people in studying that art, but I moved away from it because there were more solutions to be found in the traditional martial arts. Because I remember the pivotal point where I asked my instructor, well, what if it's my friend that's out of control? He says, well, kick him in the leg rather than the face. And I was like, even at 18, I was wondering, why is that the only answer, to kick and punch people? So I met my instructor in 1994 at Drew University. And I joke, he was the 6'4" white Pat Morita. Remember Pat Morita from the Karate Kid series?
I do.
And he was just this great plethora of good self-defense knowledge. I was a philosophy major and Asian studies minor in college. So he and I just really hit it off about the moral and ethical and philosophy behind martial arts, and specifically conflict. So the style that he taught me is an Okinawan style that we study and teach here, which is called Isshin. And it's very much akin to the Karate Kid style that you've seen in the Daniel LaRusso movies that are now having that resurgence on
Cobra
YouTube.
Kai.
Cobra Kai, yeah. So it's a lot of standing, striking and punching and kicking and grappling. We do some groundwork here as well, but we're not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. If people are in the know, that's the distinction between us and them.
So you teach children's classes, you teach adult classes, and I think teenagers in the middle.
Yeah, everyone from 4 and up. My joke is from 4 to 104. So I think one of my students is almost 70 right now, and he's earned his black belt in another system. And his grandson has been studying with me, and he was watching what we're doing. He's like, I want to get back into this. So here he is, almost 70, and he's back into kicking and punching. He looks great.
That's great. So clearly, part of this is going to be physical exercise.
Yes.
There are going to be forms, or they're going to be learning how to use your body.
Yeah.
But there are all kinds of other lessons. Maybe you can share the philosophy and the mind and some of the habits that you're trying to teach your students.
Absolutely. Great question. So one of the things that I'm always trying to impart to students is the very first lesson that they have before they even go through the red door over there is my job is to help you learn how to control yourself. As I tease with the younger kids, no one gets mad at you for being in control of yourself. So the more that you're in control of yourself, the more likelihood you have to not only avoid conflict and confrontations that don't really rise to the level of necessity, but also to teach them that once you control yourself, first of all, you learn that the only person you really have control over is yourself. And second is that you have more of an opportunity to be handling a conflict in the right way because you're in control of your mentality, your physicality, and your emotional well-being. Because a lot of times people get into conflict simply because they don't have good, clear boundaries. They don't have a good way of talking out their boundaries. They don't feel comfortable saying no. One of the jokes I have is we've become such a polite society today that we're like Amazon customer service centers, walking around and saying, of course I could do that for you. And then eventually you just get eroded. And I think what happens is people walk around in a constant agitated state of conflict. They don't even realize that they're they have a little chip on their shoulder because they're so used to swallowing things from other people because they don't have clear boundaries. So that's probably the most important thing I can teach young kids is to be able to have a clear boundary so that they're not getting involved in lots of conflict. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So it's a little bit counterintuitive because if there's a child and you're a parent who's worried about your kid getting bullied on the playground or cyberbullied on the computer, you might send them here for training, but it's not really physical to fight necessarily. It's really to understand how to manage that conflict.
Exactly. So one of the things that we were talking about before we even got on video was about violence and empathy. And I think once people understand what real conflict is, they start to become more empathetic about how it relates to them and the people they like and love around them. So I think that also starts to change their mentality about how they treat each other. Because we have a saying here that a good partner is a good student and vice versa. And you want to work with somebody and give 100% of your attention. So it's not only knowing that you're taller than I am and maybe I'm more experienced than you are, but we have to work out some type of empathetic understanding that your leverage and your height is going to be an advantage. My time in the art and my expertise in the art is going to give me an advantage. And we start to work around the conflict of us just being different. And that's a really positive way to look at things rather than just saying, oh, well, he's just taller than me, so he's going to beat me. Or, well, he's just a better martial artist and doing it longer than me, he's just going to beat me. There's a little bit more depth to it than just that, like just for who we are from a visual standpoint.
As a small business owner, how do you give back and support the local community?
So basically whatever I can. So I have plenty of parents, obviously, that have their kids here, and they're always letting me know when there's a tricky tray or some type of proposal that they're having for raising awareness or any type of fundraiser for their schools. So I'm always ready to send out a bag or a hat or some mugs or some free classes, which I do very often to help support the community around me, as well as doing things for like Girl Scouts and Cub Scouts where they can come in here and take some basic self-defense training that focuses a lot on being verbally adept at creating good boundaries and maintaining boundaries to avoid and de-escalate and diffuse a lot of conflicts that kids find themselves in today.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us in and telling us about your business and your background. I encourage you to come down and chat with Sensei Darren to learn more about classes. There are birthday parties here. And I hope that you get the sense that there's more than just the physical fitness aspect of practicing karate. If you like this video, please like it, comment below, subscribe. And for more information, please visit buylocalnj.com.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.